You know the exact moment. The song builds, a voice climbs higher than you expected it to go, and without any warning, a wave breaks over your skin. It starts at the back of your neck, races down your arms, and for 2 or 3 seconds, every hair on your body stands at attention. Nothing touched you. The room did not get colder, and yet your body just reacted as if something enormous had happened. We call them goosebumps, chills. That shiver of beauty a great song, or a swelling film score, or a single held note can send straight through you. It feels like the music reached inside and flipped a switch. But here is what almost nobody realizes. That switch was not built for music. It is far, far older than any song ever written. And the reason it exists has nothing to do with beauty at all. To understand why a melody can raise the hair on your arms, you have to go back to a time before melodies existed, before humans existed. Let us start with what is actually happening on your skin. Those bumps have a name. Piloerection. Every tiny hair on your body sits in a follicle, and attached to that follicle is a microscopic muscle. When the muscle contracts, it tugs the hair upright and puffs the skin around it into a little mound. Do that across your whole body at once, and you get that rippling wave of goose flesh. Now here is the strange part. Why would your body have an entire system dedicated to making your hair stand up? The answer is that for most of your evolutionary history, you were covered in it. Picture a cat that meets a dog. Its fur puffs out, and suddenly it looks twice its size. Picture yourself stepping out into the cold. The hairs rise to trap a layer of warm air against the skin. That is what this machinery is for. It is an ancient response to 2 things, and only 2 things: cold and threat. When a furry animal is freezing or frightened, it fluffs up. We inherited the exact same wiring. We simply lost most of the fur. So the goosebumps you get from a song are a leftover, a ghost. Your body is running a program written for a coat you no longer own, reacting to a danger that is not there. Which brings us to the real question of this whole video. If this reflex is for cold and fear, then why on earth does it fire when you hear something beautiful? For a long time, that was a genuine mystery. Then, a little over a decade ago, researchers in Montreal slid people into a brain scanner and had them listen to music that gave them chills. What they found rewired how scientists think about all of this. At the exact instant the chills hit, the brain flooded with dopamine, the same chemical messenger tangled up in food, in sex, in the deep pull of addiction. Music was lighting up the brain's core reward system, the circuitry that evolved to make us chase the things that kept us alive. But the truly fascinating detail was about timing. The dopamine did not only spike at the peak of the song. A separate burst arrived several seconds before it, in the part of the brain that handles anticipation. In other words, your brain was rewarding you not just for the beautiful moment, but for correctly predicting that it was coming. And that is the key that unlocks everything. Because your brain, above all else, is a prediction machine. Every waking second, it is quietly guessing what happens next. And music is a playground built entirely out of expectation. A good piece of music sets up a pattern. Your brain leans in and guesses where it is going. And then the song does something to that guess. It delays the note you were aching for. It swerves into a chord you never saw coming. A voice cracks with emotion. The drums drop out and then come crashing back. That gap between what you expected and what actually happens is where the chill lives. Frisson tends to strike at moments of surprise, of sudden swell, of a line being crossed. It is the sound of a prediction being beautifully, thrillingly broken, which means the story we tell ourselves is wrong. We say some music is just so beautiful that it gives you chills, but it is not really about beauty. It is about surprise, inside a place that feels safe. It is why the 100th time you hear a song, the chills quietly fade. Your brain has learned the pattern, and there is nothing left to predict. The magic was never only in the notes. It was in the space between the notes and everything you expected them to be. And not everyone feels them at all. If you have ever sat in a car while friends swore a song was covering them in chills, and you felt absolutely nothing, you are not broken, and neither are they. The research suggests only about half to 2/3 of people get frisson from music, and it runs strongest in the people who are most deeply absorbed by it, who listen actively, who let a piece of music tell them a story, instead of treating it as wallpaper. The chill rewards attention. It comes most easily to the ones who lean all the way in. And once you know what to look for, you start to see the machinery everywhere. The key change that lifts the final chorus one step higher than all the ones before it. The long silence right before the beat slams back in. A single fragile voice, alone, suddenly joined by 100 others. Each one is a small, deliberate act of controlled surprise, engineered to break your prediction at exactly the right instant. But that still leaves the deepest question of all. Why would evolution wire our reward system and our oldest fear reflex to respond to sound in the first place? Here, scientists tread more carefully because we have crossed from certainty into theory. And there are a few haunting possibilities. One begins with the human voice. Long before language, our ancestors communicated through raw sound. And one sound above all demanded instant attention: the separation cry, the wail of an infant who has lost its mother, the call of someone cut off from the group. In a world where being alone often meant being dead, that rising, plaintive cry had to slice straight through you and seize your whole body. And some researchers noticed something uncanny. The musical moments most likely to give us chills, a soaring, aching vocal, a lonely minor melody, carry almost the same acoustic fingerprint as that ancient cry of separation. Under this theory, when a singer breaks your heart, your body is answering what sounds like a fellow human in distress. The chill is empathy, older than words. A second idea points not to sorrow, but to the group. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors made music together. They drummed, they chanted, they sang around the fire, their voices and even their heartbeats sliding into sync. That synchrony was survival. It fused strangers into a tribe, released a flood of feel-good chemistry, and turned many separate people into a single moving thing. In this view, the chill is the body's marker of profound belonging, the sensation of being swept up into something far larger than yourself. It is why chills so often arrive not when you listen alone, but when an entire stadium sings the same words back at once. And there is a third, simpler possibility. A sudden, powerful, unfamiliar sound, a scream, a roar, a crack of thunder, has always tripped the fight or flight response, and piloerection rides along with it. Music, especially live and loud, is full of exactly these jolts. The blast of a full orchestra, the bass you feel inside your chest. In this reading, the chill is your ancient alarm going off, but because you are safe and warm and in control, the terror gets rewritten as awe. Fear without danger. The thrill of the cliff edge with a railing in front of you. Notice what all three of these have in common. Cold, distress, belonging, danger. Not one of them is about art. Every single explanation traces the chill back to something that once meant staying alive. And this is the reframe I want to leave you with. Music did not invent the goosebump. Music discovered it. Somewhere in our deep past, we stumbled onto the fact that certain patterns of sound could reach past the thinking mind and pull directly on these ancient survival strings. And then we did something no other creature has ever done. We began to do it on purpose. Think about how strange that truly is. We built an entire art form, arguably our greatest one, whose secret function is to trigger a fear and cold reflex again and again for pleasure. We are the animal that learned to pull its own ancient alarm just to feel the wave roll over us. Every song you love is, in a sense, a beautiful false alarm. A key someone cut to fit a lock that evolution built for the cry of a lost child, for the roar in the dark, for the warmth of the fire and the circle of the tribe around it. When a songwriter lands that perfect key change, they're not only writing music, they're reaching hundreds of thousands of years back into your body and squeezing something that was there long before pianos, before drums, before words. And maybe that is why chills feel less like entertainment and more like meaning. Less like a preference and more like a truth. Because in that moment, the most modern part of you, the part streaming a song through a little glass rectangle, is being answered by the most ancient part of you. The part that once huddled against the cold, that froze at a sound in the dark, that wept for someone lost and sang in the firelight to feel a little less alone. So the next time it happens, the voice climbs, the wave breaks, the hair rises along your arms. Do not let the moment slip by unnoticed. That shiver is not a glitch, and it is not just your taste in music. It is a reflex 1,000 centuries old, waking for a few seconds to answer a song. It is the oldest part of you, still listening, still moved, still here.